Picture a quiet table at first light. No music, no notifications. No one asking for you. Just a glass of water, a chair, and a body that finally sits still. For a few minutes, your mind rebels. It reaches for a screen, a task, any excuse to leave. Stay anyway. Keep breathing. Something subtle happens when you outlast the impulse to run. The dust of other people's expectations begins to settle. Your own voice, the one you have been outsourcing for years, clears its throat. This is not punishment. This is sacred space. Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed for a happy life, and that it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Solitude is how you recover that way of thinking. It is not a retreat from the world. It is a return to the command center. Without it, you navigate by borrowed maps. With it, you redraw the coastlines to match reality. We live in a noise economy. Silence is treated like a defect to be patched with content. Yet the choices that set your future do not arrive through push alerts. They surface when the surface is calm. Sit 10 minutes without inputs and you will discover why most people never do it. Their nervous systems equate quiet with danger. They grab for stimulation to avoid a meeting with themselves. The Stoic move is to schedule that meeting and show up anyway. Treat solitude like training, not a mood. 5 minutes each morning. No goal, no journaling, no problem solving. Just watch thoughts drift by and resist the urge to force them into shape. In week 2, take silent walks. No podcast. Let your attention relearn distance and depth. In week 3, guard one silent meal. Taste food without an audience. By week 4, you will notice something practical. Decisions get cheaper. You spend less energy on whether to act and more on how to act well. What changes first is not your job or your relationships. What changes first is your threshold. Small slights stop hijacking your day. Empty praise stops steering your plan. You start to feel the difference between the role you play and the person who plays it. That person deserves time with you. In that hour, you recommit to values you chose on purpose. You remember the projects you abandoned because they did not look impressive enough online. You recover the appetite to work for outcomes that may never be seen by strangers and do not need to be. Practical checkpoint. Can you sit 10 minutes with yourself without reaching for rescue? If not, name the resistance. Restlessness is a muscle memory, not a moral failure. Train it. Put the phone in another room. Set a simple timer. Each time you notice you got carried away by a thought, mark a dot on paper and return to breath. The dot is not proof of weakness. It is a rep. You are building attention the way you build legs in the gym, under load with patience and by returning again. Solitude is not empty. It is full of uncashed checks, ideas you never wrote down, regrets that want to be lessons, clarity that needs a pen, not applause. Sit long enough and you will hear an old sentence arrive with new authority. Live by your standards, not by the feed. From there, everything you offer other people comes from a reservoir, not a plea. The paradox is simple. When you master being alone, you stop being lonely in rooms full of people. You are free to connect without bargaining away your center. Modern life teaches you to run your self-worth on borrowed power. You carry open ports for every comment, glance, and metric to plug into your mood. Unplug them. Opinions are data points, not directives. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events, but from our judgments about them. Criticism is an event. Your interpretation is the judgment. You control the second part. That is where freedom lives. Here is the distinction that builds opinion immunity. Feedback from people invested in your growth is a tool. Judgment from spectators is noise. Do not confuse microphones with mentors. Before you let a remark alter your course, ask 3 filters. Is this person living by standards I respect? Do they understand my context? Do they bear any costs if I follow their advice? If the answer to the first is no, and to the second and third is also no, file their view under background radiation. The urge to please runs deep. Approval feels like safety because evolutionarily it was. But you are not a child in a tribe at risk of exile for breaking a norm. You are an adult building a life that must withstand Monday morning. Pleasing 99 people will not neutralize the one disapproving voice you have chosen to fear. The loop never ends because the target always moves. The only stable metric is the mirror. Can you endorse your own choices at day's end? That is the scoreboard. This is not a license to be arrogant. It is a discipline of source selection. Seek hard truth from the few who have earned the right to be heard. They usually speak quietly. They point to specifics. They aim at your improvement, not at your identity. Everyone else is an audience you do not owe a performance. You can be polite, even grateful for attention, and still uninterested in renting out your head. Practice is simple and uncomfortable. Wear the thing you like that confuses the algorithm of your circle. Post the idea that matters to you even if it gets fewer hearts. Decline the invitation that drains you even if they push back. Each act is a vote for sovereignty over reputation. You teach your nervous system that disapproval does not equal danger. After a month of reps, you will notice your decisions get faster because you consult fewer fake boards of directors in your mind. To make it concrete, create a short council of 3. One is a future self you respect, defined in a paragraph you can read. One is a real person who tells you the truth and has demonstrated care. One is a principle stated in a sentence that you refuse to trade. When conflict hits, bring decisions to this council. If the future self would be proud, the truth teller would nod, and the principle stays intact. Proceed. If not, wait, adjust, or say no. You cannot control if people misunderstand you. You can control whether you self-abandon to be understood. Immunity is not about feeling nothing. It is about choosing what feelings govern your moves. You will still notice a barb, a slight, a rumor. Let it sting and let it pass. You will still appreciate praise. Say thank you and let it go. The middle path here is not apathy. It is authority. You keep the steering wheel in your hands. Self-reliance is not a vow to isolate. It is a choice to own what you can so you can give what you have. The airplane instruction is not a cliche. Put on your oxygen mask first or you help no one. In life, the mask is emotional regulation, basic skills, and a simple system for decisions. Without these, you outsource your stability to other people's availability. That works until it doesn't, and then it fails loudly. Start with emotional sovereignty. It is the ability to feel fully without handing your steering wheel to the feeling. Anger arrives. You label it accurately. You interrogate its signal. You choose your response timeline. Fear arrives. You ask whether it is a protector or a liar. You do not shame yourself for reacting, and you do not let reactions write your emails. Simple protocols help. Box breathing before difficult calls. A one-page debrief after conflicts. A rule to sleep on major choices. These are not magic. They are guardrails that keep you from leaving the road in weather. Next, build practical competence. Cook a week of simple meals that respect your body. Run a zero-based budget for 90 days to learn what your money actually does. Maintain your space so it does not act against you. Learn basic car care, basic first aid, basic file management. None of this is glamorous. All of it is leverage. Every solved routine frees bandwidth for deep work and meaningful service. Then, build decision infrastructure. Write down your top 5 values and verbs. Not honesty, but tell the truth fast. Not health, but train 4 days a week. Not family, but dinner present 3 nights. Convert values to behaviors and schedule them. When trade-offs appear, consult the schedule, not your mood. You will stop redeciding essentials each day. That is what reliable people do. They place pillars once and build around them. Spiritual self-reliance belongs here too. Do not outsource meaning to influencers. Read primary sources. Sit with the questions that refuse quick answers. Develop your own prayer, meditation, or reflection practice aimed at gratitude and responsibility. When you stand on something you examined yourself, you become harder to push over. You can also listen without fear because disagreement does not threaten your foundation. Relationships improve under self-reliance. You stop auditioning for rescue. You look for partners, friends, and colleagues who complement, not complete. You set boundaries early because you know your limits and your mission. You give more generously because your giving is not a secret invoice. You ask for help from strength, not from collapse. The feedback loop is healthy. People start trusting you because you do not make your weather their problem. A 30-day sprint. Week 1, emotional protocols. Morning breathing, evening debrief, 1 no-rush rule. Week 2, practical basics. Food plan, budget, clean a room to 0. Week 3, value verbs and schedule pillars. Week 4, silence practice plus 1 small act of courage per day. Track reps, not perfection. The goal is not to need no one. The goal is to choose connection from surplus. When you can stand alone, you paradoxically stand better with others. Your presence stops demanding constant accommodation. Your offers carry weight because they are not disguised needs. You lead without posturing and follow without resentment. Self-reliance builds a kind of quiet gravity. People feel it before you say much. They recognize that you will do your part, and you will not ask them to be your parachute unless the plane truly fails. Failure is not a verdict. It is a course, usually customized and rarely free. The culture trains you to run from it, rebrand it, or drown it in slogans. The Stoic move is to enroll on purpose. When something breaks, your first job is to feel it cleanly. Let the heat run. Your second job is to extract the lesson before the story you tell yourself hardens in the wrong shape. Create a repeatable failure audit. It has 3 parts. What did I control that I will do differently next time? What was outside my control that I will stop pretending to control? What skill, system, or standard would have prevented this? Get specific. Vague audits produce vague progress. If you missed a deadline, analyze your time estimates, your buffer, and your start trigger. If a pitch fell flat, dissect audience fit, narrative arc, and proof. If a relationship cracked, study your boundaries, bids for connection, and repair attempts. Do the audit in solitude before you ask for comfort. Not because you must go it alone, but because the ego is loud when witnesses are present. Alone, you can admit the obvious. You cut a corner. You hoped a weakness would not matter. You ignored a signal because action would require conflict. Write that down, then translate it into 1 or 2 prevention moves you can schedule. Decide the next rep while the pain is fresh enough to motivate but calm enough to think. Antifragility is the property you want. Fragile things break under stress. Resilient things resist stress and bounce back. Antifragile systems gain from stress through adaptation. You move toward antifragility when each failure adds to your playbook. Miss a workout and design a 1-move fallback you can do anywhere. Fumble a speech and build a warm-up protocol you will never skip. Overcommit and create a max projects rule linked to your calendar. The point is not to avoid pain forever. The point is to make the same pain pay you if it returns. Protect against narrative toxicity. After a loss, the fastest spreading infection is a global story about you. I always choke. I am not a leader. I cannot trust anyone. These are not insights. They are excuses dressed as wisdom. Replace them with local stories. In this context, with these conditions, using this approach, I failed. Then add a plan. Next time, I will change 2 variables and measure. Local stories leave your identity intact while forcing your method to evolve. Use post-mortems and pre-mortems. After projects, debrief the facts. Before projects, imagine failure in advance and list the most likely causes. Then mitigate. The discipline feels clinical, which is the point. Failure hates daylight and structure. It thrives in shame and denial. You will be tempted to dramatize or to minimize. Do neither. Write, adjust, and re-enter. Make 1 more upgrade. Celebrate clean attempts, not just wins. Track number of shots taken with full form. Reward yourself for courageous tries under uncertainty. This rewires motivation for crafts that require exposure. The more you practice honest attempts followed by precise audits, the more you trust yourself to engage again. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It is the memory of promises kept to yourself in hard conditions. The next time you fail, skip the public post and schedule a private class. Put 1 hour on the calendar titled Failure University. Bring the data. Leave the ego. Walk out with 1 behavior, 1 system tweak, and 1 principle you will not violate again. You are not proving your worth. You are raising your standard. The Stoics described an inner citadel, a fortress no one can enter without your consent. Build it deliberately. Start by separating impressions from judgments. An impression is what happens. A client cancels, a friend snaps, your body aches, the market moves. A judgment is the meaning you assign. I am finished, they never cared, I will never recover. You control judgments. Practice pausing between the 2. Name the impression and delay the judgment until your prefrontal cortex is back online. Fortresses are layered. The outer wall is perspective. Train it by zooming out in time, in scale, and in narrative. Will this matter in 5 years? What would my great-grandparent or future grandchild think of this moment? How do people in worse conditions carry heavier loads with grace? Perspective does not deny pain. It sizes it correctly so it cannot fill the sky. When someone insults you, perspective reframes it as information about their weather, not your worth. When plans break, perspective reminds you that plans are experiments, not prophecies. The second wall is principles. Write them short, sturdy, and active. Tell the truth fast. Keep promises small and precise. Protect sleep. Do the hard thing first. Never punish honesty. Principles reduce decision fatigue. When choices collide, you consult the wall and act. You will not be efficient every day, but you will be consistent where it matters. That consistency compounds. The inner keep is identity you do not rent out. You are not your metrics, titles, or tempers. You are the one who notices all 3 and chooses the next step. Meditation, prayer, and reflective writing are ways to return to that observer seat. So are physical practices that test your edges without drama. Cold water, loaded carries, long, slow distance. You discover you can feel strongly and still move cleanly. That is the posture of someone hard to provoke and impossible to puppet. Windows belong in the fortress. You are not building a bunker. You are creating a stronghold from which to serve. Boundaries are the frames. They let in light and keep out weather. State them early and calmly. Here is what I can offer. Here is what I cannot. Here is how to work with me. Here is what to expect if we cross lines. Boundaries prevent resentment, which is what grows when you try to be generous without structure. Train your garrison daily with small drills. Perspective drill. Write one sentence that zooms out each time you feel trapped. Principle drill. Reaffirm one rule before a meeting and keep it. Identity drill. When triggered, say in your head, I am noticing anger rather than I am angry. The first phrase leaves room for choice. The second fuses you to the state. Add a closing ritual to each day. 3 lines on what you did well, 1 line on what to improve, 1 act of repair if you owe it to someone. Expect storms. People will test your walls, sometimes without malice, sometimes with it. Markets will swing. Bodies will whisper limits. Your job is not to prevent weather. Your job is to own the gate. Decide what gets in, what stays out, and what passes through with a wave. The more intact the fortress, the more freely you can move beyond it. Security breeds generosity. Autonomy breeds collaboration. You can hold your line and hold out a hand at the same time. If you live by your standards, you will disappoint people. Let that sentence be neutral and true. The point is not to relish it. The point is to accept it as the tax on an authentic life. Many confuse being liked with being good, being accommodating with being valuable. They say yes by default and then pay interest in resentment, delay, and diluted work. The Stoic correction is strategic disappointment. Choose who and what you are willing to disappoint so you can honor the commitments that define you. Strategy starts with a list of hills you will not die on and the few you will. Not every invitation is an assault on your mission. Not every expectation deserves a fight. But some do, and you should know them in advance. You will disappoint the colleague who wants you at every meeting when deep work must be done. You will disappoint the friend who prefers gossip when you are cleaning your inputs. You will disappoint even family at times by protecting recovery, refusing debt that buys appearances, or pursuing a path they do not understand. That does not make you cruel. It makes you accountable to your purpose. How to do it well. Communicate early, briefly, and with ownership. Thank them for the ask. State your boundary or decision once. Offer an alternative only if it does not violate your priorities. Do not over-explain. Explanations invite negotiation you do not want. Do not blame a vague schedule. Say I am not available. Do not claim you wish you could when you do not. Say I choose not to. People read your posture more than your words. If you speak from apology you do not believe, they push. If you speak from clarity without hostility, most adjust. Train this courage with micro-reps. Say no to the extra scroll block and yes to the book. Say no to a late start and yes to the morning session. Say no to a cheap win that cost your standard and yes to a clean attempt that might fail. You are teaching yourself that your self-respect is not negotiable and that relationships worth keeping can survive boundaries. Many will not just survive, they will improve. Respect tends to rise when lines are clear. All the previous parts converge here into the only victory that cannot be taken: mastery of self. Lao Tzu drew the line centuries ago. Conquering others is strength. Conquering yourself is might. This is not about becoming rigid. It is about becoming the director of your inner theater. Feelings still audition. Thoughts still pitch. Impulses still bang on the door. You decide casting. You decide pacing. You decide who gets a microphone and who takes a seat. Self-mastery is practical. It shows up when cut off in traffic and you choose breath over bark. It shows up when criticized and you look for the 1 useful % before you discard the rest. It shows up when the bed is warm and the plan says train, and you train. Each small kept promise builds a memory bank. Confidence withdraws from that bank, not from compliments. This is how you become unstealable. Promotions, followers, praise, even relationships can be lost. Integrity practiced under pressure is yours to keep. Design a daily loop that makes mastery likely. Morning, 1 page of intentions and verbs, 1 block of silence, 1 movement session. They would do the hard thing first. Protect a depth block, tell 1 uncomfortable truth kindly. Evening, 3 wins, 1 improvement, 1 repair if you owe it. Weekly, a failure audit, a schedule reset, a conversation that matters. Monthly, a solitude day to realign. Quarterly, a personal offsite to rewrite what must evolve. None of this is heroic. It is repeatable, and that is what changes a life. You will still walk alone at times. That is not a sentence. It is a privilege. It means you can join others without trading your compass. It means you can love without attaching a chain. It means your service is clean because it is not a secret transaction. The world does not need more noise. It needs steady people. People who can sit with themselves, choose from values, carry failure to class, defend a calm center, and tell the truth even when it disappoints. If you want a single line to carry forward, make it this: I will be governed from the inside. Say it when you are tempted to crowdsource your choices. Say it when you prepare to attempt something bigger than your current skill. Say it when fear asks for control. Then act. The path of the Stoic warrior is not easy. It is simple. It is walked one honest rep at a time until the day people call you disciplined, lucky, or gifted. Smile. You know the secret. You just kept promises to yourself when it was quiet and no one was watching.